Hello, good evening everyone. I want to start today with a question. How many of us actually had a dream which you wanted to pursue but never took a step towards it? Can I have a show of hands? Well, quite a lot, or I would say rather all of us. Now, what's the reason that we never took a step towards it? What do you think? Maybe lack of lack of confidence, fear of failure, or maybe something else. But whatever the reason is, the first step is always the hardest part. So today, I'm standing in front of you guys to tell you my story of how I took my first step toward my dream. So I come from a beautiful town, but a very small town in the foothill of Himalayas. That offers a night full of stars, breathtaking view of stars. So I always used to sit under the stars and wonder what else could be up there. What else could be up there in space, and apart from stars, what other things are there in space? I was always fascinated about space. So I used to sit under the stars for hours. I even used to get scoldings from my grandmother. My grandmother used to tell me, "You idiot boy, you're sitting here for hours, such late at night, tiger will take you someday." But space, such an amazing thing. I was so fascinated that I made it my dream to work in the space sector and contribute something to space. But as I grew up, the fascination and interest remained as is, but it got burdened under the pressure of self-doubt. So I started doubting myself. I started my school, but I never took a step towards starting my journey in the space sector. I started my school, I completed my school. I started my college, and until then, I had not taken any kind of step towards my journey. So in my college, I realized that now is the time for me to take a step towards my dream. Because taking first step towards your dream is maybe a difficult step, but it's the most important step of your life. If you do not take that step, then you are not signaling it to the universe, and you are not making that commitment to your dream that you want to achieve it. If you are making that commitment, that means you are putting a signal in the universe that you really want to make your dream come true. So starting is the hardest part of any journey. So when I started my college, first few months, I spent here and there, that's what we college students do. That's what we do. We go here and there, we waste some time, and that's what I did. But this is where I met my first co-founder, Anirudh Sharma, a guy with similar interests, similar passion, similar hobbies. I then started a single step towards our journey. We started the first student satellite club in our university. As soon as we started this journey, we hit our first roadblock. What could be that? We were computer science students trying to build something in the space sector. These two don't sit together. So this is the first roadblock that we got. A space science technology or a space science project being held by computer science graduates. So first problem we had to solve was the credibility problem. We started making efforts toward it. We started reading, we started acquiring knowledge, we started developing things, and soon we got our opportunity. We got an invitation for a conference organized by ISRO. Without even thinking twice, we applied for it. We went there. The conference was in a different city. So on the date of conference, we started somewhere early in the morning at 5 a.m. We reached there about 9 a.m. We went to the registration desk, did our registration, entered the conference room at around 10 a.m. and was surprised. Everybody in that conference room was from the PhD or master's background. We were the only people from bachelor's background in that conference room. Well, it was obvious for us to feel a bit nervous and less confident. So we found ourselves a seat and we sat there and we started discussing on our own. I still remember I told Andrew, this is our first conference and we've got goodies, man. Even if we don't win this, it won't matter much. And while we were having that discussion, suddenly we heard her name. It was our turn to pitch. We went to the stage, we started pitching. We didn't even realize what we said. We just finished our pitching. We came down, we sat on our seat and waited for lunch. We went out, we had a heavy lunch, we came back and sat in the back. We didn't even wait for the results. We were too confident that we won't win this, that we didn't even hear about the results. We were just discussing on us. So I still remember when we had lunch and we came back and we sat on the back seat the auditorium where the conference was going. We were discussing, me and Nandu were discussing about the lunch. We didn't even bother to think about the results because we were thinking we are not going to win. There are all these PhD people, master's people sitting here. How can we win here? We have just started in this sector. These people come from space sector, whereas we come from computer science sector. So I don't think we are going to win. So we started our discussion around lunch. Hey, did you try dal makhani? Dal makhani was good, man. Oh, I tried paneer. Paneer was better. Come on, man, you are a vegetarian. You should try chicken. And suddenly we heard her name. Before we could collect our senses and understand why was her name announced, we heard her name again and we were invited to the stage. We got up, we went to the stage, and there we won the Best Student Research Award. It was unexpected for us. We were sitting there in between, PhD levels and master level people, that too who have got their specialization in the space sector, and we coming from bachelors in computer science background have actually won a research award. That gave us confidence and a boost. That also gave us a learning that domain never restricts you to itself. If you have courage and if you have dedication to any other field, you can always make career in that domain. So with that determination, we came back to a university and we started a University Student Satellite Club full-fledged. We made a complete team. We started working with the team. One other thing that we learned was the power of collaboration. And this is where we also started reaching out to other student satellite teams. Anirudh's friend Tanveer was running such initiative in his university. And this is where I met my second co-founder, Tanveer Ahmed. So we started collaborating, we started helping out each other in building these technologies. We represented in multiple conferences, won most of them, lost a little, but yeah, failure is part of journey. So that's how we proceeded forward with that. But again, we hit a roadblock. After a point, we realized that we do not have enough expertise and capabilities in-house to go ahead. So we had to look out in the industry. I still remember my co-founder, Andrew. He wrote about 400 emails to people and agencies across the globe. He didn't sleep for 2 nights. He was doing research, collecting details of 400 agencies which can help us. And he wrote 400 emails. How many responses did we get? Just 2. We had to get satisfied in 2 emails, but I think those 2 emails were enough for us. We started working with these 2 space agencies and later one of them dropped, so we continued with just 1. We started working with them and that engagement turned out to be really, really fruitful. While we were doing our developments, they were completely impressed by our capabilities, our ideas and our developments. And that's when they said that they wanted to do some kind of joint projects. This is where we started supplying them components. We started building things in India and started supplying it to them. And they really liked it. So they wanted us to raise an invoice to them where they could pay for our work. And this is how my company Diganatara was born. We started the company only to raise an invoice. But our interest for space sector was so much that we started venturing into the space sector. We started attending conferences across the globe. We started talking to people, networking to people across the industry. And that's when we also attended International Astronautical Congress, which is one of the biggest conference in the space sector that happens globally every year. And there we realized that there's a huge problem in the space sector, which every company is facing. My question that I used to think as a child, what else could be out there in space? I got a partial answer to it. What was the answer? There are more than 300 million pieces of junk up there in space, which are a threat to the future of space exploration. We as humans, we have already polluted Earth, and right now we are on a journey to pollute space. We were surprised, we were shocked by it. And that's when we made it a goal of our life to solve this problem statement, make a solution for it, and make space more sustainable and safer. So we started research around that. Now we were doing 2 things parallelly. One, we were running a student satellite club where we were doing developments, we were presenting ourselves in different conferences, we were winning awards. And parallelly we were doing a research to fulfill our dream of making something for space. So while we were doing that, there was a point where, there's a point which comes into every student's life where you have to decide on your career goals. You have to decide on your career, what do you want to do in future. I also had to take that decision. My co-founders had to take that decision. So we decided not to proceed forward with our higher education. We decided not to proceed forward with our placement cells, but rather just focus on what we were doing. And that's when we thought at that time. We thought that we'll put things together, we'll make things work, and that's how we'll work. So at that phase, we told our parents we wanted to do that, but middle class family parents, how do they support? They always tell you have to go for placements, you have to take higher education, you have to make yourself skillful so that you can survive in this world. So we heard them, but then we decided on our own that we'll be going ahead and we'll be developing our own company. So there came a time when we had to make a proposal for our next milestones. We made this proposal, we submitted it to our university, and I still don't know the reason, but the proposal got rejected. It was December of 2019, and we had not opted for placements. We were about to graduate. We did not have a proposal approved. We were completely broken. We didn't even know what to do next. We had no idea of what we can do next. So we gathered ourselves and we decided to sit and discuss and understand what can be done next. So we sat and we planned everything, and we planned and we planned. Then we planned the resources what we need. The first resource that you need is budget. Where do you get the budget from? So what we did is we invested the fee that was given by our parents to us to pay to university into our venture and build it from there. Of course, we earned it later from the components that we were selling to the other agencies. We earned it and we submitted fee to the university. But that's how we started that. So when we were doing that, there was a lot of things that happened. COVID happened, and because of COVID, we couldn't come together. So I was stuck in Uttarakhand, and my other two co-founders were stuck here in Bangalore. We couldn't sit together, we couldn't work it out, so we had to plan a lot of things. And then at the end, I had to travel here because while you are making a company in the space sector, you have to make sure that you sit together, and that's how you make it. Otherwise, how are you going to make a space company remotely? So I had to relocate to Bangalore. And for that, I couldn't tell my parents. So I told my parents that I've got an internship in Bangalore and I have to go there because the company supports only work from office culture, and I had to relocate to Bangalore. I lied to my parents and I came here to Bangalore without even knowing that how will I survive here? How will I actually fund my stay here, my food here, and how will I survive here in Bangalore? I came here to Bangalore, we sat together, we discussed, we planned, and we did all the work we had to do for the next few months. And in December of 2020, we started again. So Digantara actually got incorporated in December of 2018. But December of 2020 is when we started Digantara full-fledged, in flesh and bones. That's when we decided that now we are going to set goals for us. We had done a lot of planning, so we broke everything into different goals, smaller goals, milestones, and we started achieving them one by one. The first goal that we set for us was to solve the problem of funding, because when you are doing the venture and space sector, you need a lot of funding. Even for you to do any kind of prototype, you need a lot of funds, you need a lot of resources. How do you get that? So you need funding. So that's when we broke our first milestone in December of 2020. We said we need funding, and that's when we aimed at it. We spent next 6 months to close that, and we closed a $2.5 million round from Kalari Capital in the July of 2021. So that was our first funding that we had raised, the seed round capital. Then we decided another goal. We decided to launch one asset to space by 2022. We made sure that we launched this asset to space within the next 12 months. That's what we made our goal. And that's when we started working towards it. We started in the July of 2021. We worked for next 11, 12 months, and we launched an asset to space in June of 2022. 30th of June 2022, we launched our first asset to space on board ISRO's PSLV C-53, and that is when we achieved Zenith. So this is the journey that we had followed right from day one to launching one of our assets to space. While there were a lot of things that were challenging to us, but one major thing that I felt across this journey is that if we wouldn't have taken that first step, if we wouldn't have gathered that courage to take the first step and start our journey, we would have not reached here. So today, I wanted to give you that message, and I wanted to conclude my words with this message that if you have dream, if you have courage, then the first step is the thing that you should go for first. Planning will follow. Other things, resources, everything will follow. But if you do not take the first step, you have not made that commitment to your goal that you are going to make it a reality. Thank you so much.